Hey guys, it's me, Brandon. In today's episode, we are going to see how a judge from Israel, Gideon, was used by God to defeat the army of the Midianites. The Israelites were only 300 men, and the Midianites were 135,000 soldiers. God gave victory to the soldiers who were not fearful and trusted in Him. Let's hear the story. The Midianites and their allies had gathered an army of 135,000 to rob the Israelites of their crops and food. God has promised Gideon He will give him victory over them. The enemy were camped in the valley of Jezreel near the hill of Moreh. Gideon had 32,000 warriors from the nearby tribes of Manasseh, Asher, Zebulun, and Naphtali who had gathered near the spring of Harod. They were outnumbered. For one Israelite there were 4 Midianites. The Lord told Gideon, "You have too many warriors. If I let you defeat the Midianites, the Israelites will boast they did it themselves. Send home all those who are timid or afraid." So 22,000 of them went home, leaving only 10,000 who were willing to fight. Then the Lord told Gideon, "There are still too many. Bring them down to the spring." At the spring, the Lord said, "Divide the men into 2 groups. In one, put all those who cup water in their hands and lap it up with their tongues like dogs. In the other group, put all those who kneel and drink with their mouths in the stream." Only 300 of the men drank from their hands. God told Gideon to these 300 men would bring victory, and the others should be sent home. They were now outnumbered. For one Israelite, there were 450 Midianites. That night the Lord told Gideon, "If you are afraid to attack, go down to the camp with your servant Purah. Listen to what the Midianites are saying, and you will be greatly encouraged." Gideon and Purah crept up on the enemy just as a man was telling his companion about a dream. "In my dream, a loaf of barley bread came tumbling down into the Midianite camp. It hit a tent, turned it over, and knocked it flat." His companion answered, "Your dream can only mean God has given Gideon victory over us." Gideon bowed and worshipped God, then returned to his camp. "Get up, for the Lord has given you victory over the Midianite hordes," Gideon shouted. He divided the 300 men into 3 groups and gave each man a ram's horn and a clay jar with a torch in it. He instructed them that as soon as they heard him blow his horn, they should do the same and shout, "For the Lord and for Gideon." Just after the changing of the guard at midnight, Gideon's group of 100 men reached the edge of the Midianite camp. Suddenly they blew the ram's horns and broke the clay jars. The other groups did the same. They held the blazing torches in their left hand. The horns in their right hands shouted, "A sword for the Lord and for Gideon." Each man stood still and watched as the Lord caused the Midianites to rush around in a panic. They began fighting among each other with their swords. Those who were not killed fled back to the river Jordan. Gideon sent for the warriors of Naphtali, Asher, and Manasseh to chase them. He also sent messengers throughout the hill country of Ephraim to cut the enemy off at the shallow river crossings. They captured Oreb and Zeb, the 2 Midianite commanders, and executed them. We see how Gideon, with only 300 soldiers, defeated 135,000 Midianite soldiers. In the last episode, we saw how Gideon had doubts at first, but he was convinced by God that God was going to help him defeat the Midianites. We see how we can trust the word and promises of God. God defeated an entire army of 135,000 soldiers with only 300 Israelite soldiers. He did this so that Israel would realize that the victory was through the power of God, and so that Israel would not boast that the victory was because of them. We see how God took out soldiers who were afraid to fight. God wants us to trust Him completely. God was teaching them to trust in Him. Likewise, we must recognize that it is God who gives us the strength to obtain victory in everything we do. But we must trust God completely, presenting to Him everything we are going to do every day, at school and with our family. We can pray to God and tell Him what worries us, so we can ask God to give us strength and wisdom and help us with everything we need help with. We must trust God completely. He can do everything. God is willing to help us. All we must do is trust Him. Remember that you get the victory not by your own strength, but with God's strength.